So our next chapter is neurons and nerve impulse. Okay, so in this we're gonna study about the neurons and of course the whole structure, function, and everything we're gonna cover. So the main purpose of this unit is to help understand about the cells of neurons nervous system, that are neurons, and its structure, function, as well as its classification, and the dynamic nature of the brain, that is neuroplasticity, neural degeneration, regeneration, and reorganization also we will gonna discuss. So yeah, all organisms have cells. So all organs within the human body also have cells, like heart cells, liver cells, brain cells. Yeah, heart cells, liver cells, brain cells. Heart liver cells are known as hepatic cells, brain cells we have neurons, and heart cells are the, I don't know about there. You can comment the what heart cells are called. Okay. The network of, okay, yeah. So our behavior, actions, and thoughts are also a product of interaction between complex system of cells, chemicals, and organs. Nervous system is one such complex arrangement of cells. Okay, it contains millions of neurons and trillions of neural connections. The network of cells in the nervous system carries information to and from all parts of the body. There are two kinds of cells in the nervous system. They are neurons and the glial cells. So first one is the neurons plus glial cells. This constitute our nervous system. Yep. Yeah. So the neuron is a basic cell of the nervous system. It is responsible for transmitting information to and from the brain. For example, nerve cells carry information to the brain from our eyes, our ears. Nerve cells also carry back response from brain to the body, like muscle movements. It generates electrical impulses known as nerve impulse. In other words, neurons help us to feel, taste, see, move, feel emotions, remember, and communicate. Also, each neuron has a different chemical makeup, resulting in complex behavior. It is very difficult to ascertain the exact number of neurons in a person, and the number also different from one person to another. According to Williams and Harap in 1988, there are approximately 100 billion neurons in human adult human brain. Okay, and there are 12 to 15 billion in cerebral cortex. Okay, in cerebral cortex and associated areas, and 70 billion in cerebellum. Okay, and nearly 1 billion in spinal cord. Neurons are of varied shapes and sizes. Glial cells support and protect neurons. Okay. Then we have neuron structure and function. The cells of nervous system that receive and send messages within that system are known as neurons. Exactly. Neurons receive and process information to and from the brain. The electrical signal that the neuron conducts is known as a nerve impulse. They are varying in size and shape, having varied functions to perform. Okay. We have a typical neuron has the soma or the cell body. So soma is known as cell body, right? And axon terminal buttons. Axon, then terminal buttons. This is what a typical neuron structure looks like. And the plasma membrane of the neuron is a double layer of phospholipid molecules. This is the plasma membrane, which is semi-permeable. So plasma membrane of the neuron is semi-permeable. Semi-permeable, right? Should use black pen. The whole visible. Yeah. Okay. It controls the movement of the substance through it. Okay, hence it is involved in the nerve impulse. It also provides sites for electrical activity that occurs during nerve impulse and for synaptic activity between two neurons. Okay, the cell body is the cell body is the largest part of the neuron that has number of organelles floating in its cytoplasm, such as, so in the cytoplasm of the neuron what we have: Golgi body, Nissl bodies, mitochondria, of course it's chondria, mitochondria, right? Yeah, mitochondria, yep, mitochondria. Then we have ARIA, rough endoplasmic reticulum. Then we have SCR also. The cell body is a metabolic center of the neuron and is also called as a soma. Dendrite means tree-like. Dendrite means tree-like. Okay. There is a nucleus in the center. The dendrite is the extensions which look like branches of the tree. The dendrite tips have sensory receptor that receive the stimuli from other neurons and begin the process of nerve impulse by sending these impulses to the cell body. The axon is a long cylinder part. Axon is a long cylinder part. Okay. So that extends from a portion of the cell body known as axon hillock. It extends from axon hillock. Axon hillock is a cone. It is a cone-shaped region. Okay, it is a cone-shaped region at the junction between axon and the cell body. It is often covered by the myelin sheath and carries information from the cell body towards its distal ends known as terminal buttons. Okay, and the myelin sheath is fatty insulation around many axons. The axons vary in length and diameter, with larger diameter indicating faster action potential. So axons which have larger diameter, they have faster action potentials. Influencing neural conduction. So the axon may have branches known as axon collaterals. These are the branches of the axon, right? A brief chemical or electrical message that begins from the cell body travels down the axon to the terminal buttons is known as an action potential. So action potential is a pura brief chemical which begins from the cell body of the axon to the travels down to the axon. Cell body means soma to the axon body. Okay, when the axons divide at the rear end, it branches profusely and each branch ends in a knob. Ends in a knob. Okay, these are known as the terminal buttons. When the action potential travels on the axon, it reaches the terminal buttons where the chemical substance is released known as neurotransmitter. So for example, if I draw, this is the soma, and here it from here, this is the axon, and it is dividing into branches like this, if you can see. Hana, like this. Okay, these are the branches, and this is a soma, and from here the signal travels from here. This is myelin sheet here. Okay, these are the terminal ends, knob. Okay, here is a chemical is being secreted, which is known as a neurotransmitter. Okay, so the function of the neurotransmitter is to either increase or reduce the activity of the receiving neuron. Yeah. So through neurons, though neurons are present in large numbers in the brain, there are other primary cells that provide support to the neurons, as the neuroglial cell, neuroglia, or glia, glial cells, or glia. Okay, glial cells also affect thinking, learning, memory, perception, and helps in maintaining a state of nervous homeostasis of nervous system. And glial cells deliver nutrients to neurons, produce myelin to coat axons, clean up waste product and dead neurons, help in information processing, and influence the generation of neurons during prenatal development. The role of glial cells in neurodevelopment disorders like autism spectrum disorder. Autism spectrum disorder, okay? And here the role of glial cell is to degenerative disorder like Alzheimer disorder and psychiatric disorder like major depressive disorder and schizophrenia is being investigated by neuroscientists. There are four main types of glial cells. So glial cells are of four main types. Okay. First is oligodendrocytes. Then we have Schwann cells. Then we have microglia or glia. Then we have astrocytes. Okay, oligo produce myelin for neurons in the brain and spinal cord. Schwann is myelin sheet around the neurons of the body. It only produces myelin sheet around the neurons of the body. Okay. Then we have microglia. Where is it? Okay, the only two is given of the PNS. Myelin is basically protects the shaft of the axon as well as it gives support. Such nerve fibers are known as myelinated fibers. There are certain gaps between the myelin sheet which are known as nodes of Ranvier. Microglial cells are involved in the inflammation responses. Inflammation responses. Okay, microglia are involved in the inflammation responses. Then we have astrocytes clean up the waste materials, waste cleaning of the dying neurons. Okay, so yeah. Next we have classification and types of neuron. Okay, yeah. So there are different types of neuron. Each type has different functions to perform. We know that neurons vary in the size and shape. Neurons are also classified according to their structure and function. There are three kinds of neurons that are classified according to their structure, namely unipolar. We have unipolar, bipolar, and multipolar. Okay, and the classification is based on the number of the processes emerging from the cell body. The types of neurons are illustrated below. The pseudo-unipolar or unipolar neurons have one axon that separates from the soma and branches into two. These neurons are involved in the sensory function. They send impulses received from the environment to the CNS. The bipolar are sensory neurons. They have one axon and one dendrite, which is profusely branched like a tree. The dendrite is placed. So the uni or the it is also known as pseudo unipolar. Pseudo unipolar. Why? Pseudo unipolar. Because it have one axon that separates from the soma and branches into two. Okay. Bipolar have one axon and one dendrite, which is profusely branched like a tree. And the multipolar have one axon but several but it have several dendrites. Okay, they are mostly commonly found in the brain and the spinal cord. Okay, they are most so the further class they were further classified as Golgi type 1 and Golgi type 2 neurons depending upon the length of their axons and how much they branch. The next type we have Golgi type 1 and Golgi type 2. Okay. Have long and few branches. and carry information further away as the motor nerves. They carry information further away. The Golgi 2 neurons have shorter axons and branch repeatedly. These neurons act mostly locally to nearby areas, okay? Nearby areas. Neurons are classified into types based on their functioning, namely afferent and efferent and interneurons. On the basis of the functioning, they're also as the afferent, efferent, and interneurons. Okay, yeah. So afferent neurons are the sensory neurons that carry the nerve impulses to the central. It carries to CNS, like nerve impulses to CNS. It is affected by the changes in the environment, and the efferent takes impulses away from brain or spinal cord to the muscle or gland. They are also known as the motor. Efferent neurons are known as the motor neurons also. Okay, I hope you get it. And the interneurons lie within the CNS. Okay, and they carry information from the efferent to efferent, from afferent to efferent, and neurons are placed in the form of a reflex arc to conduct impulses to and from the brain and spinal cord. The most common reflex is the one that consists of an afferent, inter, and an efferent. Okay, so this was the. Now we have functions of neuron. So neurons are involved in all reflex action, like all reflex actions are performed by the neurons and ranging from simple to complex. And the communication between sensory and motor neurons, hence no behavior is possible without the appropriate function of the neurons. For example, if we are able to see an object, it is possible because the receptor in the eyes communicate this to the brain, which help us to perceive things clearly. Similarly, when we hold a glass in our hand, it is possible only because of the coordination of the sensory neuron with the motor neuron, which signals the muscles to hold the glass. There is an intricate network. What do we call it? Intricate network of connections between these neurons in the brain and spinal cord that makes possible the proper functioning of the body. These are genetic as well as environmental factors that influence the development of the nervous system. Okay, thanks. We have another topic also, which is neural conduction. We will cover it in our next topic, next video. Thanks.